Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Marion, and I'm very excited to be back with another tutorial. Today, we'll be making this skirt. It's long and it's very much giving the earthy girl aesthetic. It's measurement based and the stitch is easy to achieve. I will be demonstrating everything step by step in this video. I enjoyed shooting for this particular outfit. The location was so beautiful and the sun was very much outside. I had so much fun. If you'd like to see more videos and more photos, please follow me on Instagram. That is Marion Crochets. Thank you so much for subscribing and welcome. So these are the materials that we are going to be using during this tutorial. I have my pair of scissors that I will use to cut my yarn here and there. Also, I have my stitch markers, and we need to be marking our stitches as we go. I have this darning needle that I will use at the end of the project to weave in ends. And for my hook, I'm going to be using a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook because I want my skirt to be flowy and not very tight. Now for the yarn, this is the yarn that I'm using. This is butterfly. It is butterfly zuri. It's 4-ply, and this is color sky blue. It's 8704. It's 100% acrylic and it has a very soft touch to it. So this particular ball is 50 grams and I am going to be doubling my strands to achieve the medium weight yarn. So if you have any medium weight, I would recommend that you use that. But for this project, I will be doubling the strands. So without wasting so much time, let's just get right into the video. So this skirt, the stitch that I chose is very, very texturized. It's a 2-row repeat of the X stitch and the double crochets. So when we begin, because we are going to work the skirt in panels, you will work the front panel and then the back panel or vice versa, and they have to be very identical. And this follow the measurements of your, from the top here, we will start with our waist, going downwards as we increase towards our hip measurements, and then we will just flow towards the bottom of the skirt. Like, we won't reduce or increase anywhere. It will just be a beautiful flow that takes the curve of your body as it flows down. And the reason, as I said, I chose to use a bigger hook, this is a 5.0 millimeter, it's because I wanted to add in for the in the texture of the skirt, and then everything should be very light and flowy. You're going to grab your measuring tape, and the first measurement that we're going to use is your waist measurement divided by 2. Remember, we are working this skirt in panels, so we are starting with one of the panels. And to do this, we are going to make a slip knot, and then this is how I make my slip knot. And once you have your slip knot, we are going to make a chain of 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, once you have your chain 3, we are going to do a foundation row. This is going to be a double crochet foundation row instead of doing chains and then doing the double crochets. And the reason I want to use this stitch is because it brings that elastic type of feel to your outfit instead of the stiff chain. So what we're gonna do is we are going to yarn over and insert our hook in this very first chain right here. Once you have that in, you're going to yarn over and pull through that chain. You have 3 on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop like that. So this signifies that we are doing our first chain and then we do a double crochet. And to work a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. So let's do the next stitch. We are going to yarn over, and then if you turn your work like this, you will notice that we created a certain V over here when we were doing that first chain. So we will yarn over and insert our hook in there. make sure to grab both loops like that, and then yarn over, pull through like that. You have 3 on your hook. We are going to make the first chain, so you yarn over, pull through the very first loop like that, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So what we are doing is we are making a chain and a double crochet. So yarn over, go into these loops that we just created right here, our first chain, and then yarn over, pull through. We are going to yarn over, pull through the first loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to work this until my waist size is 28. So I'm going to work this until I have 14 inches without stretching. So now I've worked a total of 48 stitches, and this gives me a total of 14 inches. And just in case you're wondering how this is going to pass through my head downwards to fit me, if you stretch it a little bit, it goes up to like 19, almost 20. So I'm very sure that once I'm done working this project, I won't find it difficult to wear it. So without stretching, get to your waist measurements. Mine is 14, and that's why I'm ending this row at this point. So we are going to work the next row, and what to do here is just to chain 2 and then turn your work, and then you're going to go on top of this second stitch. You're going to go on top of that with a double crochet, and then yarn over, go into the next stitch and work a double crochet. And we are going to work these double crochets until we get to the end of the row. We are not starting our increases here. We are still just working that waistband, and this constitutes of 2 rows of double crochets. So we've already done our foundation row, and we are now doing the next row of double crochet, and then from there we are going to start working our X stitches. So let's continue working this row off camera, and then I will meet you once I'm done. Now once you have your 2 rows, remember we've just been doing double crochets on top of the previous double crochets until we got to the end of the row. And now we are going to start the row with the X stitch, and what we are going to do is we are going to chain 1 and 2, and then you turn your work. Once you have that, you are going to skip the first stitch, which is this one right here. You will skip this and then go to the next stitch and work a double crochet. So just insert your hook right there, work a double crochet, and then yarn over. And remember the stitch we had left behind, that is where we go in to make that X like that, and then we also work a double crochet. And just like that, we have worked our first X stitch, and this is what we're going to be doing all the way through. We'll be skipping the first stitch, going to the next like that, working a double crochet, and then coming back to the previous stitch and do a double crochet like that. So these are going to follow each other until you get to the end of the row. So you see, you skip this one, go into the next, work a double crochet, and then yarn over, come back to the previous stitch and do a double crochet like that. So we're going to do this until we have the entire row covered. So we are working towards the end of the row, and as you notice, I'm only left with one stitch over here, and I'm going to yarn over and insert a double crochet on top of that stitch, because it's important that we maintain the number of stitches that we're working with. Okay, so once we're done here, we are going to chain 2 and then turn. And for this row, we are going to place double crochets on top of each and every stitch from the previous row. So you're going to come on top of this second stitch over here and do a double crochet, and then yarn over, go on top of the next stitch and work a double crochet, yarn over, go on top of the next stitch and work a double crochet as well, yarn over, go to the next and work a double crochet. So I'm going to work the double crochets until I get to the end of the row. And so far, this is what we should be having. So we are done with the 1, 2, 3, 4th row, and now we are going to start our 5th row, and it's going to be a repeat of the X row that we have over here. So as always, we're going to chain 2 and then turn, and then yarn over, skip the first stitch, go into the second and work a double crochet, and then yarn over, come back to the one that we have here and then work that double crochet just as we did the previous row, and then continue until you get to the end. And when we come back now, we are ready to start increasing towards our hip measurements. Now we're done with that X row, and the next row is going to be a double crochet row, and we are also going to start increasing on this very row. So I'm going to chain 2 as always and then turn my work. And remember, when we are working these rows, this very first stitch usually goes with the chain stitch, so that compensates that. But since we are going to be increasing, we are going to start from this very first stitch over here so that it marks our increase. So I have yarned over and I'm going to insert my hook right here and then work a double crochet, and then continue working a double crochet on top of each and every stitch until I get to the end of the row. So this is what you should be having. This is the increase stitch that we have worked, and now we are going to place a single double crochet in each and every of the remaining stitches until we get to the end of the row. Completed the row, and now we are ready to start the X row, and still with an increase. So I'm going to chain 2 and then turn my work. And remember, when we are doing the X stitches, we are skipping a stitch and then going into the next. And since for this row we are going to be increasing, we are going to skip this very first stitch right here that marks an increase, and then we place our double crochet on top of this next double crochet right here and do a double crochet, and then yarn over and come back to the stitch at the corner right here. That is where our increase stitch is going to be placed, but still with the X aesthetic, okay? And then now we are going to continue the row normally as we have been doing the rest of the work. So we will skip this one, go into the next, work an X, and then come back, work a double crochet and come back to complete the X stitch in the previous double crochet, like that. And then we are going to skip this, go into the next, work a double crochet, and then come back to the previous stitch and work another double crochet to complete the X. So we are going to complete this row using the X stitches, and I will meet you there. So now at the end here, you realize we have 3 stitches left, 1, 2, 3. We are going to go into the second one and work a double crochet, and then come back to the previous one, which is this one right here, and work a double crochet to complete the X. And then the remaining stitch, if you look closely right here, you will notice that there is a stitch, and that is where we need to place our very last double crochet to close the row. So this is how our X rows are going to be starting when we are increasing, and this is how they will end. And once you're done, we are still increasing, you will chain 2, turn your work, and then goes directly into this stitch on top of the very first stitch, and add a stitch right there because we are doing an increase, right? And then yarn over and continue placing 1 double crochet on top of each and every double crochet. And remember, we are going to increase like this. Remember how we increased on the previous row and how we are increasing on this very row. We are going to increase like that at the beginning of each and every row until you hit your hip measurement divided by 2. So my hip measurement is 38. So once I get to 19 inches with these increases, I will stop right there, and then I start working just continuously without increases. So I'll see you once I have my 19 inches. And one way to know, like, if your outfit, both panels are equal, you're going to count the X stitches. Like I could count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I count from this end to this end, I have exactly 27 of them. So I have 27 X's on this side, and I have 27 X's on the first panel that I had done before. So I know that my panels are very equal. Another way is to simply just take your tape measure and measure to know that you have what you are looking for. For example, for me, I was looking for a total of 19 inches, and if I put my tape measure right here and then measure this part, I'm getting to exactly 19 inches, and that's exactly what I was going for. For my hip measurements are 38. So from here, since I have achieved what I wanted to achieve, we are going to flow all the way to the floor. So what we're going to be doing is just chaining 2, turning our work, and remember how we started doing right here without increases. That is exactly what we're going to do. So instead of going into this one that marked our increase, we will just insert our hook right in this double crochet right there, and continue working double crochets on top of each and every double crochet from the previous row. And the next row is going to be an X stitch, and then a double crochet row, and then an X stitch row, until we get to the end of the panel. So I'm going to work this off camera, and then I will be back to show you the length. I'll work until I have 40 inches long. So this can be to your desired length, because I know some people might opt to make it a mini skirt, but if you're going for the lengthy and flowy vibe as me, this is what we are going for. I've been working and I have a total of 40 inches. This is the right side of my skirt and this is the wrong side. And since we are going to be working, once you're done with the length of your skirt, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work the seam on both sides. Remember, we were working this skirt in panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the right sides facing like that. So this is the right side of my previous panel and this is the right side of the panel that I just completed. You put them both together facing like that, and now we are going to be working the seam, the side seams. Okay, so what we do is we're just going to insert this hook on this side that doesn't have the yarn attached to it, and then we pull the loop from the other side towards us like this, and then you're going to chain 1 and continue working 2 double crochets in each and every row. So everywhere that there is a double crochet, we are going to be putting there 2 single crochets. So once you're done with that, you move into the next and work 2 single crochets. And then also you go to the next and work 2 single crochets like that. So as you go along, just make sure you're aligning the rows. So the X row should align with the X row on the other side, and the double crochet row should also align with the double crochet row. So just make sure everything aligns, and then you work the single crochets until you get to the top of the skirt, and then you will cut the yarn and attach to the other side to see to it that you have these side seams on both sides. So I will meet you once I have my side seams done. So upon completion, you should have something like this. And now we're going to do a row of single crochets on top here, just to finish up the overall look of the skirt at the top on the waist area. Okay, so we're going to just okay, I have gone a size down. I'm using a 4mm instead of 5 that I've been using. So I'm going to chain 1 and then insert my hook in the next stitch and do a single crochet, insert in the next and do a single crochet, and I'm going to do these single crochets until I get to the end of the row, which is right here where we've started from. So I'm gonna do these single crochets up until this point and then pass and do on the other panel until I get to the end. So once you're done, you're going to slip stitch on top of the very first stitch that you did over here. So you slip stitch and then you chain 1 and you're done. We're going to weave in these parts later on, but pretty much we are done with the waist area. The only thing that we left to do is to work the drawstring that we will intertwine in between and weave it on this very first row. That is where we will put our drawstring, and I will show you in a couple of in the next few. Now I'm going to do a row of white right here just to bring the whole look together, and I think we will be done with our skirt. So I will insert my hook right here, and this should be the 5mm. So this part is very optional. You can choose to add this color or not, but I think just having a touch of white or any other color according to the color that you're using is it adds to the skirt the details. Okay, so now we are going to be using, and I'm using a 5mm crochet hook, just be the one that I was using to make the skirt. And now we're going to be doing just a row of single crochets, nothing fancy, just to add a touch of color to the whole skirt. So I'm gonna do this until I get to the end of just here. Okay, so I've been working the drawstring, and for this one I tripled my strands and just made a long chain, and this one right here is about 80 inches. So you can make a chain as long as you want it, and once you're done you will just cut like that. So the reason I'm leaving these strands very long is because I will use them to to insert the cord through these beads. Okay, so before we insert them through the beads, we are going to we'll weave the drawstring, you know, in the skirt on the topmost row, and this is how we are going to go about it. So now, as soon as you're done with this is how the waist will be sitting like. And now I have already inserted the beads in one of the ends, and I need to do the same on this other end. So we're going to use this needle. We'll use the darning needle to insert the beads. Okay, so once you have this, you're gonna get your beads, and then we will just insert them one by one. You can insert as many as you can, but I only had 4 available. That is why I have 4 at the moment. So once you have them in, you're going to tie knots, as many knots as possible at the end here, so that the knots will prevent the beads from coming out. So I'm just going to tie as many as possible. So these are 2, and then I'll do the third one like that. No particular shape whatsoever, unless you're very perfect. This is just to prevent the beads from coming off. You can even do another and another, but I think these are enough. I can just add another one. No harm whatsoever. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten this So at this point, we are completely done with the skirt. You can go ahead and fasten off right here, and you're done.